a definitive man, because although he is graced with apostolic holiness, he is like all of us because in our struggle to maintain the Christian life, we all lose peace, forgiveness and la presence of Jesus at times, and in return, we have tortured ourselves by the trial. Thomas longed for certainty, clarity and proof, and I don't blame him, because we can understand that the empty tomb and the reports of his fellow disciples were not enough, which could be a wind. After all, we don't know, and if we're honest, this wouldn't be enough for us either, because searching for proof to bridge the gap between us and divinity, Viva Ha, he has always been with us through the ages. So, we must ask then, was Thomas really a disciple? Because he was so ordinary, is he as much as we are? Was he going through the motions of discipleship? Well, I guess not, because, we read later in the passage that Jesus made a point of appearing to him on another day, and how many of us have experienced that? And from the other passages this morning, there is another P that I must mention, and it is for permanence, because the resurrection of Jesus has demonstrated the indisputable permanence of God. Jesus was more than a prophet, and more than a teacher. He was more than a king. He is the permanent Son of God. Thomas finally got the final word, saying that Jesus is my Lord and my God, meaning that Thomas received his request and was satisfied. Now, this is all very good. But you noticed, the emphasis is still on us. All the work still has to be done by us. Doesn't God take part in this, a version of New Testament of history? Well, to move on, it does. So now we're going to look at this story from a version of the New Testament, and I'm going to start with a great saying that I learned many years ago and love, and that is religion is about 313. Man's relationship with God, whereas Christianity is about God's relationship with man. This implies that religion is about what man can do to impress God, where Christianity is where God has impressed upon us mere morality. This is where God stoops down to meet us mere mortals. The two homilies I just spoke are pretty good for now, but they are all about what we do for God. And in both cases, we are simply asked to believe. I mean, does God sit back and wait for us to believe, and then say, well, it seems like I believe enough now, I guess I better do something? No, we need more, because we can relate to those terrified disciples in that locked room that day, because we know they were believers too, and that clearly wasn't enough, because they were totally powerless to do anything, and they certainly didn't know what to do next, not what to believe. But before we continue with our story, let's skip ahead a few years and consider the fact that the first generation of Christians, unlike us, did not hesitate to preach the good news of the resurrection of Christ, and they did it with verve and conviction, so much so that they converted hundreds of thousands of people to this new Christian faith. So you have to conclude that something, somewhere, had changed, because we don't have the same drive and enthusiasm, nor the power. However, we know that the